Hello, beautiful light-filled souls. My name is Trisha Barker, and tonight I want to talk with you about a message that never grows old. And that message is one of the more powerful ones that I heard in my near-death experience. That voice of God seemed to slow down, and the words literally came at me as if to make an impression on my soul and make me remember that love is all that matters and love is all that we take with us. And I saw this during my life review. I saw this later as I transitioned into heaven. And that really is what I hope the big takeaway is from my book, both that healing is important. You're worth the focus of sending that love and healing into yourself and your body and your soul, and the world around you is worth that focus of giving love to. That love is the great transformer. So my near-death experience happened about 25 years ago, and my book Angels in the OR is coming out 25 years after that near-death experience. So it's kind of interesting, to get to this point and put this out into the world. And my hope is to spread love and to spread healing. So the trick is really to remember love in the most trying of situations and in all situations. And I realized this, of course, as I was writing the book, and I'm going to read you just a short little moment in the book about a student who threatened my life. And my hope in writing about these students and all these situations is that I have nothing but love for that student in my heart. And yeah, I kind of write about it humorously, but my hope is that everyone who is hurting to that degree, everyone who is that lost, that a little bit of healing and love just filters through into their lives and that they transform. But here's a moment in a public school system where this happened. So the lack of respect and belief in the so-called teaching establishment showed toward its students was disheartening. I wanted a better environment for my students, not this toxic place. I wanted each of my students to feel welcomed and important, as opposed to feeling as if they were not worthy of textbooks and chairs. Third period, a guy who showed up late decided that he didn't like being marked tardy. His dislike turned to anger in the blink of an eye. And with menace painted on his face, he looked at me and said, "You know what? I'm going to kill you." "Go ahead," I found myself blurting out, surprising both him and myself. "I've made the worst decision of my life choosing to work here anyhow. The administration doesn't care about either one of us. I'm a near-death experiencer, so I'm not afraid of death. Go for it." He looked at me blankly for a moment, confused at the words that I'd just thrown out at him. "Yeah, well, I'm going to steal your hubcaps," he said in a lame and ill-chosen flurry of words, all in an attempt to try and save face. And true to his words, later that day, my flashy hubcaps were indeed stolen. With overcrowded classrooms and teachers who were bullied and not supported by administration, I wondered how the students could endure these conditions long enough to graduate. So I worked in a really tough school district that was later investigated, and it was found that the administration was stealing money from the students, not giving them enough chairs and books, and using it for their cell phones and their family, and just a really sad situation. But I was all too aware that these poor students weren't given love and respect. And so I used a variety of techniques, tried to connect with them, told them my story, but also gave them techniques for succeeding in an environment that was fashioned to make them fail in so many ways. And I wanted them to succeed despite the tough conditions where they lived. But what I want you to get from that little moment, and what I hope you get from the book as a whole, is that God didn't tell me to go in there and tell people how to live. God told me to love these students. And so often these students were not receiving love from their home, from society, from the school district, from anywhere. And it was really sad and disheartening to see this. So my mission was not to judge them, not to tell them how to live, definitely to treat themselves better and to treat themselves with love and concern. But I was simply to love them wherever they were, whatever stage in life they were, however they were falling apart, and try to bring a little bit of wholeness and healing to their lives. So in the middle of stressful situations, it can be hard to remember love. But I know that most of us, and myself included, when I look back, all I wish for is for greater love and greater healing. Now, one of the things that I teach students, and one of the things that I truly believe in and still work on this in my own life, is nonviolent communication. So nonviolent communication, and you can look this up, the Center for Nonviolent Communication has a set of steps where they talk about how to really listen to what someone else is trying to say and seek to understand. So most counselors teach this. You try to get into the head of someone else, figure out where they're coming from, and validate where they're coming from, and then allow them to understand what you're experiencing and make sure that they are able to tell you what they hear when you're talking. So that's one technique that I think is deeply important. But one of the things that I just want to leave you with in this short video is to slow down in life, however this can happen for you. So whether this is going to nature, whether this is taking up a meditation practice, whether it's just slowing down for a minute and really noticing things and taking the time to appreciate the moment. Because when you slow down and you make a moment important and you make it sacred in some way, then transformation begins to happen. And that's one of the things I've taught my students all these many years, is to just take a deep breath and just be a community, to just be there, remember that moment, because you never know. Sometimes it's simply a moment in a classroom that you look back 20 years from now and you think, wow, that was really special, or wow, that was really beautiful, because you made it beautiful, because love made it beautiful, because you took the time to make that moment important. So as this book launches out into the world tomorrow, it is available on ebook and Audible, and definitely in print. I think if you pre-ordered it, it should be getting there tomorrow. I want to hear from you. I want to hear your thoughts. My hope with the book is that I know we're all stressed and we're busy. And so even though I was an English major and I had all these great desires and dreams, when I started writing a book, it didn't turn out exactly the way I imagined it would all these many years ago, because we live in different times. And the advice that I was given was to write something quick and easy to read, because a lot of people have ADD because of all the technology, and we're all distracted with all this information coming at us. So I didn't want to write something incredibly poetic and wordy and deeply philosophical. I wanted to write a story that you could delve into, understand easily, and just take away some key concepts. But I also wanted to infiltrate some of the writing with the healing energy of the other side, that no matter what you have gone through personally, you can heal. So I believe this with all my heart, that no matter what kind of trauma someone has lived through, that community, that a focus on healing, and that love can truly transform lives. I've seen it happen in classrooms. I've seen education transform people's lives, but that's not the only way to transform a life. Certainly spiritual organizations, churches, all types of communities can help people change. So one of the other reasons that I wrote this book was I wanted to make near-death experiences just incredibly mainstream. And I'm not quite sure yet, but I will figure this out, how to connect with that crowd that is largely agnostic. So just the other day, I was eviscerated by an atheist in one of my graduate school chat rooms who said how absolutely ridiculous that someone from Goddard College wrote a book called Angels in the OR. How could someone believe in something so ridiculous? And I just laughed and I thought, well, I'm really prepared for attack, unfortunately, because I've been attacked a lot. And I just told them, I'm not afraid of these attacks, and I'm just hoping you're my ideal reader, an atheist and agnostic. I just want you to be somewhat curious in my story, curious about me as a writer, And maybe I'll just crack your mind open just a little bit that I was an agnostic and this happened to me. I couldn't have been more surprised that there is this spiritual reality that we go on. I still am surprised to this day when I continue to communicate with angels, when I continue to feel their loving energy all around me, when I continue to feel them beside me going, yes, 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 we are pushing this energy through you. We are making sure that love and connection and healing is spread into this planet because this planet needs it. And we only have to look around and see the horror and the terror and the sadness and the depression and the over-medication and the drug abuse and everything that is happening in our society in America and around the world, and know that we need help from that other side, that we need a transformation, and it's happening. And we simply have to believe that what we are doing, that what you are doing for others matters. I was recently at a wonderful talk, and Ingrid Honkala gave this beautiful metaphor that I just have to paraphrase. So when you're overwhelmed by this world and you think there's too much, there's human trafficking, there's child abuse, there's, people suffering, there's a justice system that's a mess. When you look around and you think it's horrible, then just go, okay, imagine if you had a really messy house, and this is a good metaphor for me because I'm not the neatest person in the world. You start with the table, you clean off the table, you make it beautiful, you put everything up, and then that table is really nice. And then you move on to the kitchen, and maybe you complete the kitchen and put all the dishes away. And, you just look at it piece by piece. And that's what we're all doing. We're all in this together. And I know if you're watching this video with me, talking about these things, then you are doing good work in this world too. And maybe you feel like it's only small, like you only cleaned up this corner of a table, but you cleaned up that corner of a table. And that's what love does. It transforms things. It transforms situations in life and lives. And it doesn't even take a lot of it. It just takes a little bit of love to completely transform things. And I saw this time and time again in classrooms. It's a good metaphor for life. I didn't have to be some great hero where I came in and, really got deeply involved in a kid's life. Sometimes I just told him or her that she was a good writer and ought to write more and ought to write his story. And, just that tiny little belief in someone made him or made her just take this a lot farther because someone in authority looked at them, gave them a little recognition, and that was all they needed that day. So you are transforming lives, I know, and keep doing it and keep spreading that love. And I know that angels are also working through you and that God is working in your heart and spreading that love into the world as well. So can't wait to connect with you. And of course, I'm a little nervous as the book is out there in the world, but I'm also excited because it's just the completion of something that I've wanted to do for quite some time since I was an undergraduate. And I've taught writing for so many years. And I remember teaching about Fitzgerald when he wrote his first book, and it, hit the market. And then the Fitzgeralds, of course, danced on tables in Europe and were just a crazy pair. And I always pictured myself somehow dancing on top of a bar, the day that my book came out. But what I'll be doing is I'll be teaching and I'll be with my students. And that seems right. That seems apropos because they are the ones who I wrote this book for to some degree, to show them that they can have a big dream and accomplish it and get out there and do what they want to do in this world and make it fun and make it exciting. So I'm actually happy that I'm with students and not dancing on top of a bar as I imagined that I might be when I was an undergraduate and studying all these different writers. But thank you for listening. May you be blessed, and may you remember that love is all that matters and all that we take with us. So do something loving for someone today, and may you be incredibly blessed.